I found my boyfriend's secret diary. What I read inside changed everything. I wasn't looking for anything when I met Daniel. Honestly, I had just gotten out of a relationship that felt more like a prison than love, and I wasn't sure if I ever wanted to love someone again. I had been burned too many times. But when Daniel came into my life, it felt like a light shining in the dark. We met through a mutual friend, but I didn't expect much. The idea of meeting someone online or through mutual circles felt like a setup for failure. But he changed that view. We had a casual first date at a cafe, nothing too exciting. But by the end of it, I was already thinking that maybe I had misjudged love. Maybe I could have a fresh start. Daniel wasn't like anyone I had met before. He was grounded, thoughtful, and warm. His words were calming, but there was something intense about him. His smile was effortless, yet somehow knowing, like he was constantly 2 steps ahead. I could tell he was a person who cared deeply, who believed in making meaningful connections, and I liked that. Over the next few months, everything seemed perfect. We'd go on little trips, exploring cities together. I had never met anyone who paid so much attention to the details. When I said I liked a certain type of tea, he would surprise me with it, knowing exactly how I liked it. When I talked about an old book I used to read, the next day, it would be there, waiting for me. It felt like he understood me better than anyone else ever had. I thought it was all leading to something real. But I was wrong. It was supposed to be a regular evening. I was over at Daniel's apartment, working on a freelance project. I had been there for a couple of hours, and I couldn't find a pen anywhere. I opened the drawer in his nightstand, thinking maybe I could borrow one, and that's when I saw it. A small, leather-bound notebook was tucked underneath some old papers and magazines. At first, I didn't think much of it. It could have just been some random thing. But the way it was tucked away made me curious. I pulled it out. The cover was worn, like it had been opened and closed hundreds of times. It wasn't anything fancy, but it felt important, like it held secrets. I flipped it open. The first few pages were unremarkable. It was mostly about his work, his thoughts about the day, maybe some light reflections on the things he liked. But then, the entries began to take on a different tone. They started to focus on me. The first entry that made me stop was about the first time we met. He described it in such detail that it sent chills down my spine. It wasn't just a recount of events, it was like he had memorized every moment. How I looked when I walked into the cafe, the way I laughed at a joke, the way my eyes lit up when I spoke about something I loved. It wasn't just admiration, it was something deeper, something obsessive. And then came the part that made my blood run cold. I've been watching her for weeks. I know everything about her. She doesn't know it, but I've already planned our life together. The entries didn't stop there. As I kept reading, my heart pounded harder in my chest. Daniel had been following me before we even met. He had been watching me at the coffee shop, at the grocery store, on the street. He had detailed every single thing I had done for the past several months. I couldn't breathe. How was this possible? How could he know these things? I had never told him any of this. I had never mentioned the little details about my life, about the places I went, or the things I did. But here it was, written in his words, every place I frequented, every path I took, the coffee I ordered every morning. It was like he had been studying me, learning everything there was to know. He wrote about the way I smiled, the way I would get lost in thoughts sometimes, the way I would adjust my glasses when I was concentrating. How could he know all this? The worst part? He was planning it. He had been planning for us to be together. He had been orchestrating our entire relationship, right from the start. I knew it the first time I saw her. She was perfect for me. I had to make her mine. I will make her love me. The pages seemed to go on forever. With every new entry, I realized just how much he had manipulated our relationship. Every move we made, every step, was part of his design. This wasn't love. This was control. It wasn't just the little things anymore. Daniel's obsession had seeped into every aspect of his life. He wrote about how he had already imagined our future together, how he had planned the perfect life for us. He described how he would make me need him, how he would shape my life, how he would get rid of anyone who might stand in our way. The more I read, the more horrified I became. This wasn't a relationship. It was a trap. He was a master manipulator, and I had been so blinded by my own desire for love that I couldn't see it. He even went so far as to describe the way he would take control of the situation. "She will never leave me. I will make sure of it," he wrote. "Once she realizes that she can't live without me, I will be all she needs." The diary wasn't just a record of events. It was a blueprint. A guide to how he would dominate my life. And then, as if that wasn't enough, he wrote about how he had already planned for me to move in with him. He had picked out the apartment, the location, the furniture. He had already imagined every detail of our life together, and all I had to do was play along. As I thought back on the time we'd spent together, I started to see the signs of his manipulation. The way he would always coincidentally show up at the same places I visited. The way he seemed to always know what I was thinking or feeling, even when I hadn't said a word. Daniel was the perfect partner, or so I thought. He was always there when I needed him, always attentive, always listening. But I realized now that it wasn't just care, it was control. He knew how to make me feel special, how to make me feel like I was the only one in the world. But it wasn't because he loved me. It was because he needed to keep me in his grasp. There were moments I could remember where I felt uncomfortable with his over-attentiveness. He would make comments like, "I knew you'd be wearing this today," or "I could tell you'd like this book." It wasn't charming anymore, it was suffocating. I had never said those things aloud. How could he possibly know? But now, I understood. He was feeding me the illusion of control, making me believe I had the freedom to choose. The truth was, I had never truly had a choice. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to confront him. I couldn't live in this twisted reality, not knowing how deep his obsession ran. I had to know if it was true. That night, I sat down with him. I had the diary in front of me, trembling as I opened it. I showed him the pages, the ones where he described his plans for us, the ones where he detailed how he had been watching me, controlling everything. For a moment, Daniel didn't say anything. He just sat there, his expression unreadable. But then, he smiled. "You found it," he said, his voice calm, almost amused. "I was hoping you would. You've been following me. Watching me. You've been planning everything." My voice broke. "Why? Why would you do this?" He leaned in closer, his eyes dark with something I couldn't place. "Because I love you. You don't understand yet, but you will. We were meant to be together. You and I, we're destined." I recoiled, horrified. "No. This isn't love. This is obsession. You've controlled everything." Daniel's expression softened. "Isn't it the same thing? What's the difference between love and obsession if it's all for us to be together?" I ran. I couldn't stay. I couldn't look at him anymore. The man I thought I loved wasn't real. He was a stranger, a monster who had been manipulating me from the very beginning. I had to get out. I packed my things in a frenzy, not caring what I left behind. I couldn't breathe. I had to get away from him. I couldn't let him control me any longer. I left in the middle of the night, taking only what I could carry. I moved far away, changed my number, and started over. But no matter how far I ran, I could still feel him watching me. I couldn't escape him. It wasn't just his presence that haunted me, it was the fact that he knew everything. I started getting messages. Texts from unknown numbers. Emails. Sometimes, they were just simple phrases, "I'm always watching. You can't escape me." Other times, they were more detailed, like he knew where I was, what I was doing. Even when I thought I had hidden from him, he found me. Then came the letter. The letter arrived one morning, just like any other. I opened it, and inside, there was a single photograph of me, taken at the park, just outside the coffee shop I used to visit. I hadn't seen anyone around. But the photo was clear, taken from a distance. And on the back, written in his neat handwriting, was a simple phrase, "You think you've escaped me. But you'll never really be free." That was when I realized. No matter how far I ran, no matter where I went, Daniel would always be with me. He would always be watching. I moved again, changed my identity, but I can never escape him. Every phone call, every knock on my door, every glance over my shoulder, I see his face. He is always there, lurking, waiting. I can never be free. I don't know what he will do next, but I do know one thing. No matter how much time passes, Daniel will always be a part of my life. And there's nothing I can do about it.